Is King Knight a bewitching film or a magically bad experience? We'll find out right now. Hey everyone, this is David Stark from Watcher Pass. Today I'm going to talk to you about King Knight, which is coming to theaters, digital, and on demand on February 17, 2022. It is an indie horror comedy that deals with witches and real life and confronting your past. It is a silly film, it is an interesting film. My hot take on it is I think it's a rental ultimately. There were a lot of things I liked about it. I love the cast. There were some pretty funny instances. And also it did feel like it had a grounding in Wiccan and traditional witchcraft type philosophies. But I thought the humor was a little hit or miss, and the overall journey is a pretty short one. So overall, I think this is a rental. I think there's enough here that you'll find something you like. But I didn't love it as much as I kind of expected to, given the ridiculous poster and kind of the silliness that it has. So I'm gonna tell you a little about the film and a few things I liked, a few things I didn't like. I'm not going to go much into the ending because I don't think it will contribute a ton to the review, but I might touch on a few things that do happen in the ending. So if you don't want to know about the film, you don't want to know what happens, you want to experience it yourself, turn this off now. There will be spoilers. But if you don't care about that, if you want to just know my thoughts and want to hear more about the film, then let's keep going. So in King Knight, you have Thorn, played by Matthew Gray Gubler, and Willow, played by Angela Sarafyan, who have a coven of very quirky individuals. Like, it's interesting. Their coven is people from around the neighborhood. Everyone kind of is a little bit out there. But overall, they come together to form this like interesting coven Wiccan family. And then what happens is partway through, a revelation occurs about Thorn's past that causes him to go on kind of a spiritual journey. And the coven has to kind of learn how to survive without him. And Thorn has to go and kind of learn more about himself and come to terms with himself, building towards this big event at the end that I think has caused a lot of people to be concerned. And through it all, you have this kind of like dry, funny humor and these ridiculous individuals and some actually pretty interesting Wiccan / witchcraft type references. It does feel like there is a sense of authenticity to that part of it. It's not like your Hollywood type witches. This is more of a kind of like old religion, nature kind of focused witches. And I thought that was an interesting angle for this as well. I actually did talk to the director, Richard Bates Jr., who did mention that he made sure that at least a lot of the witchcraft references and that aspect, that religious aspect, was vetted by actual practicing Wiccans and witches. And so there is that sense of authenticity to that part, which I liked. So let's go into things I liked. Things I liked about this movie. The first is the silliness. I mean, the film is just kind of silly. It's overall just kind of a ridiculous type of humor. You've got this witchcraft humor. You've got all these different quirky individuals who are coming together with sometimes relatable problems. Sometimes they're kind of witch and wizarding problems. Other times just relatable problems like relationship issues, confidence issues, things like that. And there is some funny interactions with them all. And you have this group of people together in this coven that, you know, leads to some hilarity. And then there's also some hilarity that occurs during Thorn's his journey, his spiritual journey, as he's trying to come to terms. And then there's hilarity at the main event. And spoilers, the main event is Thorn's 20-year high school reunion. So his big kind of internal struggle is he has to go back to his high school reunion where he was apparently very popular, and go to these people that knew him in a life that he has since kind of rejected. He kind of rejected that type of a life and has turned into more of a kind of nonconformist Wiccan witchcraft type of lifestyle. And so the big concern is he has to go back to this high school reunion and interact with people who knew him as most popular, most likely to succeed, Thorn. So as you can imagine, there are some funny aspects in this journey. The second thing I really liked are the witchcraft references. Like I said, it did feel like there was a certain amount of authenticity. It felt like this was not kind of your Hollywood type witchcraft, that there was a certain respect for that. Even though this film is a comedy, there's a lot of ridiculous situations and hilarity that ensues. It did feel like there was this kind of like base of knowledge and understanding that the film tried to respect. And I thought that was good. I liked that it did kind of approach that with a certain amount of care, because it could have just gone off the rails. It could have just been a completely, you know, hilarious, insane type of film. But I did like that it grounded the witchcraft. And the last thing I really liked is the cast. The cast is a phenomenal cast. You know, I like the main characters. I already mentioned them, but the film also has Barbara Crampton, who's like she's horror royalty. Like I loved seeing her in this film. Her character is a little fun. She gets to be a little bit louder and kind of more out there. And overall, the cast is a really good comedy cast as well. You've got a really great kind of supporting cast in the Wiccan crew. They're all very funny people, and they kind of contribute to the humor in this film. Oh, and it also has Ray Wise, who plays a very specific role. He plays the wizard Merlin, who is again another funny kind of like well-known person that it was great to see in an indie film like this. And the last thing I really love is the music. There has this like underlying industrial soundtrack that comes up in a lot of the scenes that I really love. Like I really loved hearing it. It didn't feel like anything that I'd seen recently. It felt like something maybe more out of the 90s, which again I loved. I liked kind of that feel that also kind of fits with probably when Thorn was in high school, so it worked out perfectly. So things I didn't love. The first is the humor felt a little hit or miss. Like there was definitely some funny parts, but there were some parts that just didn't kind of connect with me. Like I expected to laugh out loud a little more given the premise and given the setup and the ridiculous and hilarious poster that this film had. I thought this would be like a really out there type of film, and it had some moments like that, but overall I didn't find it as funny as I thought I would. I mean, I and some of the humor did seem to be kind of like in there for shock value or just kind of came out of nowhere. So overall, I thought I would like this a lot more, but I didn't find this as funny as I think I expected to. And the second thing I did not like is that there were some questionable effects. I mean, I think maybe that was by design. Like this feels like maybe it was a film that's a callback to like an older style, like 90s or early 2000s ridiculous comedy where some of the effects were pretty bad, and that was kind of by design, by necessity. But here it did feel like, I don't know, some of the things just they felt a little low budget, and it's an indie film, so I know it is low budget, but I don't know, it felt like it was almost intentionally bad, but bad effects are kind of one of my things. And so when I saw that, it didn't really make elevate the movie for me. And the last thing I didn't really love is that it's a pretty short film. Like the overall film is 81 minutes, and it does feel like his journey is very kind of point to point. He doesn't really go through that many big revelations on his journey. It feels like this film has a pretty simple through line that didn't lead to much complexity. Even though it has a fairly complex setup, the overall film itself just kind of seemed to go along a simple path leading to a conclusion. And there were definitely some fun moments throughout, but overall it was a fairly linear story for a film that seems like it would have a lot more nuance and depth from the initial setup. So overall, I think this is a rental. I liked it. There were definitely some funny parts. I love the cast. The final scene at the high school reunion is pretty funny, especially there's a big kind of performance that the main character puts on that put a smile on my face. But overall, I think this is probably a rental. It's definitely an out there movie. But anyways, that's King Knight. It comes to theaters, digital on demand on February 17th, 2022. If it sounds interesting to you, check it out. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. But otherwise, thanks so much for watching. If you like this review, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot. Make sure all my new content goes straight to you. Thank you.